Today is Friday, the 10th of January, 2025. Bitcoin is projected to hit 85K, at least on my beautifully clean chart. This chart gets Bitcoin, as this channel gets Bitcoin all the way to the cycle low of 15,500. Bitcoin's spending its whole bull market in this rising channel, using these various lines as support and resistance for the most part. And this box here is your deep value line. Anytime you go below the channel, that is your deep value line. And so Bitcoin has the habit historically of falling at this rate on average, even during big dips. So you see how this big drop here, it stayed below that line, and this actually went faster. This one, it scrapes the tops of both. See that same angle? So this is the speed with which Bitcoin falls on average. And that's why I have this projected to hit 85K or a little lower around the 15th of February. So yes, timing the market is dumb. At the same rate, this is a smart guess. It's a dumb thing to do in terms of being super confident and you're putting all your eggs in that basket trying to time the market. But the reason why this is a smart practice to do is because a lot of times it works, first off, or is very close to working a lot, because it's the average way for price to move, the average slope. So it's going to hit the average a lot. But also it helps you understand how long you have for your horizontal, because some people just say 85K, you'll see in the news. 85K. Well, when? Like tomorrow? You know? When? And so this helps you with that idea. Okay, well, if it's going to hit, like, man, I might not be expecting it till mid-February. I can go take a nap for 2 weeks and chill out and have some margaritas or something, and then go look at Bitcoin price. So if we want to stare at this pretty chart just for one more minute, now that we understand, you know, the I guess the inner workings behind it, and I cannot stress enough, 85 or lower. I'm really guessing 85 to 80 would be my best guess. Now, here is the fun part. What if I'm wrong? What if my target is totally wrong? What are the most likely price paths and the shapes price will take if my main, this is just my main guess. I have a few. Just very natural ways that Bitcoin could flop around here or start to get serious after about a month. So I want to share with you, if this target that I started off the whole stream with and really built up, if it's wrong, I need you to be prepared for that too. Don't just say, I'm buying my altcoins, you know, this percent down because Tim said 85. Be prepared for the following to happen. So that's what we're going to jump into next, is if I'm dead ass wrong, what will it look like? You ready? There are a couple of ways that this target could go horribly wrong and be completely wrong. And price would not do anything goofy to accomplish that. So therefore, what I'm saying is, my target, just because it's my favorite, does not mean it's more than 50% likely to happen. I just think it might be the most probable thing, even if that thing is 35%. And no other one target, or 80 to 85K, being a, let's say it's a 30% chance, but no other one guess over a time frame of 45 to 60 days is better than 35. So that's why it's my favorite, but I want to define what that means to me. It doesn't necessarily mean statistically probable. All right. Now, if something else were to happen, do you want to do the bearish stuff first or the bullish? I want to do the bullish stuff first. That's where my heart is taking me. So, well, I'll follow my heart. And if I fart, I might follow my nose for a minute. Okay. In general, what I'm thinking is price. One of the main topics I had to say is, after this rejection here, when price was about here, I said Bitcoin seems condemned to hit the bottom here. And it did it faster than what I thought. I thought it was going to have a lower high in here, then hit it. I about got myself in trouble trying to long on mid leverage there. But before it took the second move down, I was able to lower my leverage because I saw it curling down, and then I just kept picking it up lower. But I about got myself in trouble if I didn't see that, for sure. Yep. But so this went very quickly. All right. So in my stream, I did mention it looks like it has to hit here, but I did not say it should hit it immediately. So I did not get the shape technically right. I thought the shape would look like this. Now, and during that moment, I mentioned what it could do after it hits here. We might simply be looking at a horizontal in the end that literally just plays as a horizontal with it like tapping on the middle with points of resistance, 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 support, support. And we might do this till March. That's March right there, folks. So if Bitcoin, okay, so I'm going to give you a rule of thumb. We are looking at potential sideways until through March, really. If Bitcoin decides to go up and approach all-time highs from the current low, and I'll tell you why I think that in a second. If it goes up from the current low and does not hit this blue line here, which it's condemned to do, it technically has to. So if it chooses not to touch this line, what the general rules and probabilities of these channels are is it will get above this slope line without breaking the high. And it's statistically probable anytime you have a very clear slope line that you get above it, you have just over 50% chance, not in a bear market. You have over 50% chance in that exact moment that you're taking out the look left high, the other high. Once you pass this area here, you're just likely to do it. More than 50% in a bull market, not in a bear market. And so it's saying, though, if it doesn't touch this line, although it's usually probable to go on to all-time highs or new highs after passing the slope line, even though it's overall it's probable, but because you don't hit that line, I am going to guess that it's going to be one of those situations, one of the other side of the probability. Let's say it typically has a 58% chance of breaking that high. Well, the fact that it doesn't touch this blue line increases the chance that it's among the 42%, if that makes any sense at all. If it doesn't touch this line, it's bad, essentially, and it hurts its chances of doing what it normally would do. And so if we don't touch my blue line and you don't, tune in to see, and we start moving up close above 100K and confidently above 100K, then I do think we're going to get resistance at all-time highs, not go above sustainably, maybe peak above to 110, 111, then fall back down into a horizontal through the beginning of March. So that's the first way. And again, that's about a month and a half of price action. So what I'm saying, all these words coming out of my mouth should get you through about 45 to 50 days from now. That is the time frame in which I am speaking. Which really I've been realizing I'm becoming more of a specialist on the short and midterm time frames. All right. Part 2. If my main guess is dead wrong, and again, I don't think that's 50% probable, but I think it is my favorite guess. 85 or slightly lower. What else could it look like? Well, it could look like staying under here, touching this line, and just breaking out of a triangle. And going on to new highs. And in general, just playing inside of this zone here. like it just did. Not even going all the way up the chart. And if it were to do something not very aggressive like that, we could be looking at 140K Bitcoin by April. I think that is among the most bullish cases. So yes, my main target, if it's wrong, that could mean if my blue line is hit. I don't think 140 by April is going to happen if my blue line's not hit. I'm telling you, it affects how price has permission to move. It's like collecting permission. It's like a hall pass. It needs to get its hall pass. I don't know why price does this. I've just seen it so many times. I know it needs a hall pass. I know it sounds crazy, but I know that what I'm saying is probable in terms of if it does or does not touch my blue line. Usually the only things that break the rules is big news. ETF news, BlackRock totally changed a lot of things. Made Bitcoin price go against what it was very likely to do to the downside right before that news came out. Usually, that type of, it would probably take news to break my blue line rule. All right. So it could just form a nice, sexy triangle, touch my blue line, and then be 140K by April. So that's two ways to the upside/sideways. Yeah, that's one sideways that looks like it's breaking up, but it's actually sideways. And then the other is pretty bullish. A more bearish case is that we roll over a little bit faster than what I'm thinking. And we end up using this slope line more as resistance as we try to recover. So Bitcoin just rolls over here and just hits like even below there and then V-shapes back up, boom, and hits that as resistance, comes back down, and then accelerates once it gets above that line. And that would look like Bitcoin recovered by the end of February if something like that were to happen, and that would look like low prices in the low 70Ks. I do think that in order for Bitcoin to go below 80K, it would have to drop more immediately than later. The longer this goes sideways, the less and less likely lower than 85K becomes. Why? Because the mega support is rising. It is. So sideways right now is good for Bitcoin. It means that when it falls, it will fall less. That is just the way it works. But it pays for that. It's like it's going to get its hall pass in that sense. So this is more like this is a different type of hall. This is a bathroom pass. But it gets its permission to do this. Hold on a second. It can have permission. It gains permission by going below. It gains permission, for example, in that moment to attempt to V-shape back up to this line. So if price were to get volatile more sooner than later, and it causes it to fall below this line, Bitcoin would have the likelihood of V-shaping directly back up that line. So if we did get super volatile to the downside, the farther below that line that Bitcoin went, I would start streaming and show you it is below this line. And I'll probably replay this exact moment, I'm telling you. Because if it goes below this line, that is the moment where you want to be close to having all the altcoins that you want, essentially. Being highly exposed to your altcoins as opposed to being in a flat position. If Bitcoin is to ever go below that line, which it might not until the bear market. And so trying to relate this to actionable thinking, this is not financial advice. We're talking about Pokemon cards only here. But that line is significant in terms of what your overall thinking is. I'm an extremely interested buyer right now, and I have very little time to do so. Why? Because if Bitcoin goes below there, it's going to V-shape right back up. And what are my altcoins going to do? They're going to V-shape right back up with it for the most part. And I'll be buying, just because I chose to wait, I'm buying 30% higher, for example. That's the type of thing that could happen here. The significance of Bitcoin falling below here and how important it is because it could V-shape. So it creates Like in that moment, drop non-crypto stuff like it's hot and bug out on crypto for a bit, get yourself all situated and plan for it. All right. Doesn't mean market buy 100% right then and all, not necessarily that. You know, Tim said I'm going 50x long, 100% of my portfolio. It's below that line. No. That means being, in general, a very interested buyer and considering those plans. Okay. And considering the fact that it could go very fast, the time. So that's the importance of the downside. Timing could be of essence, and if you're on vacation or something, that could happen. Oof, that could hurt your chances of getting that last little bit in. All right. Now, what you can do to help yourselves plan with your altcoins, because if Bitcoin goes down, Bitcoin's going to move it. So a nice general rule of thumb to consider is this. Let's say my target, it's somewhere in the middle. So let's say 82, for example. What percentage basis will that be on Bitcoin? How much percent from current exactly right now? How far down is that? And so I'm going to call this rule of thumb for scooping altcoins. And currently, not just a general rule of thumb, but currently. If Bitcoin goes to that area from current price, that would be a 14% drop. So if your altcoin is a small cap, it is on page 5 or deeper, 5, 6, 7 plus on CoinMarketCap, that means it'll be closer to double that amount of Bitcoin. So 28 to 30% for if you're on a small cap. Something like Solana will probably only fall, 1.2 times this amount, or 20% more, for example. So that's close to 16% for Solana. In the event Bitcoin finds itself exactly at 80, actually that would be 81K. I went down too low. But just let's say it went to 81K. And the exact moment Bitcoin were at 81K, Solana should be almost exactly 16% down, 16 to 17% down from its exact current price, if that makes sense. But, so that's close to Bitcoin. If you're small cap, it's going to be deeper, if not double, sometimes more. The faster Bitcoin falls into, let's say, a total 8%, if it goes there violently, small caps will sometimes triple. The more violently with which Bitcoin goes down, the more Bitcoin outperforms altcoins. Yeah, it makes them go down farther to a ratio. So if Bitcoin were to really tank in this example, using the same, so I said Solana be 16%. If Bitcoin were to really go down super fast, like flash crash type of material, then you would actually extend that. You would expect Solana to go closer to 20% to Bitcoin's 14% crash all at once. General rules of thumb to consider. So if you set targets now, the way that Bitcoin falls down here might affect how perfectly you tried to guess where to put, your area to scoop up, to consider. So we're kind of thinking somewhere from below current price today. If my favorite plan were to happen in that situation, hypothetical yet realistic, in general, picking alts up between 15 to 30% lower from where they are today during this stream, that would end up working out exceptionally well if Bitcoin were to bounce at this area. So the plan would require a bounce in this area. If Bitcoin were to go lower, then those general targets would be a little, like, you'd have to shift them down a little bit, right? So trying to understand what's realistic for Bitcoin to do here. What does that mean for my altcoins? And it's just that easy rule of thumb. Smaller the market cap, closer to double. The bigger the market cap, like Solana, the closer to Bitcoin it'll be as it falls. So I better realize if I need to pick up half, like I'm not trying to buy it 5% lower, like it needs to be lower, right? So it can help you quite a bit on general plan. And it'll help you, hey, this Tim guy, I think his guess is crap. I think we're hitting 60K, right? Well, that's fine. I would say two things. If you're more bearish than me, like this, you're thinking this is too high of a pullback, you might be right. So if that describes you, the rule of thumb still stands. Just measure Bitcoin price down to where you think it's going to go and use that same multiplier. Like 1.2 multiplier for something like Solana or anything in the top 20, and a 2x multiplier for anything on page 5 of CoinMarketCap or deeper. Same rule of thumb. And that's in that situation. If Bitcoin were to hit your target, your limit buys would be perfectly executing. In general sense, if your guess were correct. It wouldn't be perfectly. Sometimes it scoops only halfway down into them, and you got to cancel the bottom orders that never filled, and then market buy on the next 4-hour high or low, which in general is my game plan. Which that's more like VIP content, but so I'm not going to cover that a whole lot more. You can just not listen to that part. Okay. All right, I think those are all my, that's only 3. So I did, yeah, I think those are the 3 main ways it'll do it. Not hit my blue line, so recap of all 3 shapes, and then I'll do questions. Here's your recap. If my target's wrong and we do not hit 80 to 85K around the middle of February of 2025, 3 general ways is Bitcoin falls faster than what I imagined and hit closer to 75K, 75K instead, going deeper and faster than what I thought, and then V shapes back up all the way to like close to 90. Maybe does one of these and is completely recovered by the beginning of March, for example. That's the more bearish than my bearish case. The other 2 cases is my blue line, which is why you might want to tune in as I do live shows throughout the next several weeks. Over the next 45 or so days, I think sideways in general could happen. And the way that I think that could happen until maybe even as late as the second week of March is if Bitcoin does 2 things. Or it does one thing without another thing. If it goes past this slope line without touching this blue line, I'm going to make a moderately confident guess. It will be trapped in a horizontal until it touches that line. I really think it's condemned to touch that line no matter what. I think so. Actually not no matter what, without big news such as, almost as big as the BlackRock ETF when it was new. Like that, it would have to be big news for that rule to be broken. That is my thought. That is my analysis, and I come to trust that my channel. My channels have rules. So I think that would stimulate sideways. Perhaps as late as the 1st or 2nd week of March. The third way that my target could be completely wrong is if we essentially break up and outward of this nice triangle that it's forming, and we touch the blue line, then go up. That would make, honestly, the most sense. And that would be my favorite scenario. Well, my favorite scenario is if 80K is hit. Second favorite is because I'm in enough now where I would be happy as, if it just broke up and out of here. Because I'm ready for that situation. I have time, so I don't have to have an exact game plan for sideways. But no, because I do think it is going to go has a chance to go sideways if my blue line's not hit. I got to determine how confident of a seller do I become here at the top if my blue line's not hit and we do break out. So those would be the big questions on my mind. And I would be selling altcoins. Like how many altcoins am I selling as Bitcoin touches there? Those would be all my thoughts. All right. Now let's do your questions. Alph. All right, I can do Alph. I think I already have this mapped out. Thank goodness this cat decided to stop like sucking on my neck and just piercing my skin. This dude's a vampire. All right, so my analysis of Alph a long time ago was I felt that it needed to do a very long sideways and specifically touch this box. So this whole so for new reviewers, and it doesn't matter if you don't care about Alph. Whenever you see what you're about to see, or just wait, this general concept, it will apply to your coin too. And this is very common what's happening. So if you don't care about Alph, I'm letting you know what you're seeing now will happen on your altcoin. And I'm trying to tell you how to handle it when it happens and what is most likely. So when you have this is macro. I mean, this goes back to March 2022. When you have a very significant line like this and you unsustainably go up, okay, it did a 40x. That means you still need to satisfy bouncing on this line again. You bounce on it here, doesn't matter if you went up that high, you're going to bounce on it again. And that usually tells you you're going sideways for a long time. I made this guess, I believe, before it came out of this channel, or as it was coming out of the channel. Actually, no, I made that guess exactly where I ended it. I make the habit of pinpointing it. So yeah, it was already out of the channel, I guess. I made this guess back in October 10th. Definitely got one move wrong, but it is exactly where I guessed it would be right now. And that is the reason why. If you go up unsustainably and you already had two beautiful points of contact at a perfect angle for a higher low, you will still bounce on that line. And it usually means not so much crashing 98% to hit it, but rather going down. I bet this sucker, even though it doesn't look like it, because I just knew it went up 38x, and it stuck its landing here, I'm guessing this is close to 82% down from this wick high. If had it gone here like this, I bet that would have been like 92. Let me see how close my guess is. Something like that. Hopefully I'm not terribly wrong. When I say 82, so I was off. This is 75. Went down 75%. And had it hit this and quickly, it would have been 90%. So typically when you do more than a 10x, you want to come down 80%, and it still hasn't done it. So the fact that it still hasn't withdrawn 80% down after a move that's more than 10x, which is the rule for crypto, you're going to go down 80%. Like if you 10x unsustainably. From where it doesn't matter, it doesn't mean exactly at 10x you start going down. No, you can end up 40xing. But wherever the top is, from that top, wherever it might be, you're going down 80%. Like almost every time, even in a bull market. Because you just like to hit this angle. This angle here. All right, so it's happening. That is why I made this guess and why it's following my price path for the most part. It just needs to satisfy it. It's one of the easiest rules of thumb in all of crypto. If you do a 5x up unsustainably all in 2-3 days, you're going down 55%. 5x for 55%, period. If you go closer to 10x, you're going to be closer to 75% down. That's if it's unsustainable, an unsustainable rise. That rule of thumb, and that is how I made this guess. All right. So it's almost there. That's February. Yeah, so this has permission to go up very quickly And this is what Doge did too. Doge tried to go up without having touched the same type of line. And then what did it do? It had to compensate. It actually went below the line later. So a perfect example of why I ranted about what is happening on that chart and why it's really important. I mean, I promise you, what we're seeing here is so common and it's macro. And it works. Like, it's really important what I'm talking about here. And this is the same. Oh. That's not the same chart. Ah. My line's not there. Son of a gun, it's gone. I really wish I could have shown you. That same chart. Dang. Yeah, my chart's all dirty on there. What was it? Yeah, it was this right here. So I kept saying the longest time on Doge. This is the perfect example. Okay, so what did it do? It created two extremely obvious points of contact. Let me zoom in here so you can see it. At a perfectly natural angle for a higher low. Okay, so if it's not a perfectly, because it's like a very aggressive higher low, then this rule doesn't work quite the same. Two perfect points of contact at roughly the right angle for a higher low. It went up unsustainably last bull market. That's the whole bull market top in 2021 near the 64K top. This made a lower high to Bitcoin's higher high of 69K about here. So it went up unsustainably. And what did it do? It avoided touching this line, and somewhere back in 2023, I kept to saying my main analysis was Doge has to touch this line before going up. Doge had like a year, more than a year ago. And it looked like I was going to be wrong, and I was actually quite confused. It made me wrong. Like, I mean, look, to there, I was wrong. It did not touch this son of a gun. And I was so confident with that because I was telling my community, like, I think it has to touch that line before getting its real boost. And so it acted like it didn't, and then it finally crashed below it, and then got its real boost. It just had to touch. And so, and that is how I made that guess for Velo. For Alph. Not that Alph is that great of a coin to review for this many minutes. But knowing what I just talked about macro is so important. So important. All right. Hopefully I don't run into super important macro things like that again, so I can get through these faster. All right, Slippery Sausage, I'll do CRV. He's got stops in at 79 cents, 4x leverage. That's a fun question. Curve is wicked, man. This is the coin where I did probably my dumbest thing last bull market. Trying to short. And no, it might have even been. It might have been the bull market. It might have been just at the very end of the bull market, where before we knew the bull market was over. But yeah, it raced up to its weekly 10 from way down below. Like, did freaking 40-50% to get there, and it hadn't touched its weekly 10 forever. So I tried to short, and I didn't put my stops because my wife was saying, "Let's go to the gym. Let's go to the gym." It's like, ugh. It's like, yeah, I can make it to the gym in 15 minutes. And then so I went, I literally, the first thing I did when I got to the gym after driving was I started trying to put my stops, but I'd already been taken out completely on mid leverage. This fucking son of a bitch went like 20% above it and then tried to land on it. Oh man. Yeah. So this can really move. Like if you stops are really important. I knew what I was doing was dangerous. I didn't think it would screw me. I would screw myself in 15 minutes flat, but I did. So just be careful with this one. This one can really get you, particularly if you start turning up the leverage. So it looks like you just entered on this bad boy. So you're going for the idea that Bitcoin is ready to correct here. I think that's fair. You got a very tight stop at 79 cents. If it goes way below, just try to re-enter. You already got stop. That's what stops are for. Just wait for it to settle or guess, start picking some up here, whatever your guess is. Closer to 69 cents or whatever. Depending on how so if we fall down, let your stops do their work. And then already have the second backup plan. If my first plan doesn't work, what is my second plan? Trying this twice is fine. And the way you're doing it, that's where I would try it. That'd be my first try is now. For sure. Is your stop a little tight? It is. It's perfect. It is a perfect stop. The problem is because it's so perfect, that does make other people think it's perfect too, and liquidity does pool up there, and price likes to go just grab pools of liquidity because that's what the algorithms are meant to do. That one's tough. It might want to come check all the way down to 79 cents on the head. Or no. Wait, is your stop under that too? I guess actually that is pretty good. You got a blockage there. You said 79? What was I thinking? I thought this said 79. Oh, that's 80. Oh, no. Oh, that's 79.9. Yeah, actually 79 is really good. Yep. I apologize. For some reason I thought when I was on 79.8 that was 79. So I was saying, it's too perfect. But yeah, I think yours is away from that obvious area where everybody's going to be putting their stops. I think that's a good place to have it. And again, I would go in this with the mindset of I do expect this to try to I expect to try this twice. And that typically happens when you are being very responsible with your risk management at the very beginning of your entry. You're placing a tight stop in those situations. Whenever you're going off of minimizing risk, you need to expect to try that type of trade 2 to 3 times even. All right. And just simply have a game plan. If it breaks below it, what am I doing for the next horizontal? Okay. I would make sure that I have on my chart this line here, just connecting the two tops. It could have trouble there. If it were to race up there before Bitcoin's ready, selling into there, and just trying to re-enter down lower once things cool off. But if it healthily gets there, I don't think necessarily I would try to take profit at that line. I would expect it to accelerate there. But if out of nowhere it raced up and did a 30%, I would consider taking some profit and then wanting to use that profit to re-enter on a higher low. That would be what I consider. What else? But if you're just going to want to catch this for the rest of the bull market, I think those are all my ideas behind an entry. And this is roughly the right time in the cycle to attempt that sort of thing, which is what I'm doing too. I'm trying to get it on low leverage longs. The deepest I'm in on one is probably 20%, maybe even like 30% of the total amount I want. It's eaten through about 30% of my limit buys at this point. So I feel like that's the right target, but we'll see. Is GLQ worth it? I mean, if the chart looks good, then maybe. It's in a position of weakness. It's condemned essentially to touch this line or lower because of its behavior on this line. It just so if it sticks its landing here, that means it has to go sideways, and not accelerate for. I mean, hell, that's the middle of February there. If it just did a little baby bounce, so I don't see any V shape in store for this, and if it does, it'll come right back down. So see how it's satisfied touching that line? Then it could then make a higher low. It just has to. It just likes to touch the line before it goes up. So I mean I can't tell right now. The chart, it doesn't look that great, but it doesn't look awful, and it is close to an obvious bounce point. I mean, you are coming up on one of these, mini origin lines plus a nice horizontal here. 5 cents, anywhere lower than 5 cents looks kind of like a good price if it didn't just get delisted. But it got delisted, man. So, I mean, I don't know. That makes me just bail. Because what I've seen happen is that's often when the team is left, they stop corresponding with outside entities, and all they do is post on Twitter some stuff, probably in their pajamas, and, sitting on a beanbag with Cheetos. Like, I don't know. That's often what ends up happening. They end up closing shop. So if I knew that this team, if I were in this, enough to where I cared enough to try to get on those whatever live chats they might have on X or wherever, and they talk about getting listed, like that is actively what they're talking about engaging with their community is listings, then yeah, I think it would be worth a shot even as the chart looks like this. And I would say anywhere below 5 cents is probably where I'd begin being a more aggressively interested in buying. Potentially as low as this wick down here if Bitcoin really takes a tumble, as low as 3.6 cents. Let me shut up and measure before I confirm that thought. Oh yeah, it's perfect, 33. Yep. Because if Bitcoin falls 15% fast, this small cap will fall 30, so 30 plus. So there you go. So this wick over here is where it would go, around 3.6 cents if Bitcoin were to fall very quickly to 80K. Per the rule of thumb mentioned earlier in the stream. All right, Rayrod threw out a super chat. I'll take a look at that. I skipped your SUAI and HYPERLAUNCH. No, I covered it. I covered it, Rayrod, and I timestamped it. Unless I was lagging that bad. I mean, I guess maybe. But yeah, no, I definitely at least talked about it. So this should be easy because I just analyzed this, I believe. Maybe I did skip it. Maybe I talked about SUAI instead. Okay, so you're going to need to look at this on the 1 hour chart because it's so new. This is a micro cap. Which those are fun. I mean, as long as there is a 4-year cycle and there is an altcoin season, if one comes out, I mean, you can generally expect a 20x. Under those conditions, which those conditions might be true, and again, those conditions are, we both have a 4-year cycle and an altcoin season. So, I mean, it's kind of fun just for that. I wouldn't say that this would be a huge portion of my portfolio, but it looks like it's trying to round out an initial low here. And it's a micro cap. I don't know where it trades. It looks like CoinX and MEXC. So that's not a lot of offerings, but I would consider this more of a moonshot type of potential regarding lower percentage of my portfolio, but I would have higher expectations of it on an ROI percentage. I would be, disappointed if we do have a 4-year cycle and an altcoin season like the past 3 cycles. I would be disappointed if this one did not 40x. Actually very disappointed. So yeah, that's it's a little young to think about here with an analysis, but in a bull market, coins love to take this shape, and it essentially becomes like my projector tool. So the move is over once it's below this line. Like literally just draw it like it's a cup. And the move is slowing down only when it's below that line. And if ever you see it extend way above that line, the farther above this line it extends, the better of an opportunity to sell it is. And let me define that. And this is for everybody's altcoin. If your altcoin is making nice higher lows, kind of looks like a U, and you draw this, if it ever extends far above it, the farther above it goes, the more probable it is that you can sell at that moment and buy back at a lower price in the near future. And that's what I mean by it becomes just a highly it would change my mindset very quickly into being an aggressive seller for those reasons. Because it would need to come back and touch this line or even go below it. So if it ever goes above a parabolic curve, I should probably be a seller, even if it's not my target yet. If it's stretched up like this, the probability, even if I sell here and it went up a little higher, that I could buy back at a lower price. I don't care if it's the top. It went way above it. It's probable that I'd be able to sell here and buy back lower within a reasonable time frame. And so the higher it goes above this line, the more probable that statement becomes. And thus, the more interested in selling I would become. So this shape, and so without it being a bull market, what I would usually be drawing here is this guy here. The move, so in sideways markets, the move is not over till you're just a linear line. But in bull markets, you have this is actually about, it's more common actually than just bouncing perfectly on a linear increase. All right. And oftentimes what happens, once it goes below here, then you go to hit where that would have been, for example. That's often your target once you go below that line. And it usually hits a horizontal like that. So that's how I would anticipate this moving. If it were to peter out below this line more immediately, that's fine. I would look for it to, if it pulls below here before hitting new all-time highs, wherever it falls out of this, just look left at the most obvious horizontal. That's where it's going. Even if it's 10% down and Bitcoin doesn't look like it needs to fall more than 2, it would still probably go 10% down to touch it. And it could be just trying to challenge this as a cup handle formation before breaking out of a horizontal. Very, very common shape. And it looks like it's going to have the momentum is going for that shape right now. The trend is a cup. So let the trend be your friend and don't expect it to change until it changes. All right. Yeah, these would be the 2 shapes I have on here. You can try doing something like an EMA fill, a basic one with only 2 options like this. You can just do the 50 and 200. It might even be, yeah, that's not even out yet. So you don't even need EMAs yet. But when you can, here in a few more weeks, a 1 hour chart using the EMA fill of the 50 and 200. That once that populates, that'll last you another 2 months until you want to start using the 4-hour chart. So because this is so young, the 1-hour chart for the next month is how you're going to want to view this. Once you get a couple weekly candles, yeah, you might want to refer to them, but you'll want to like live on the 1 hour and only visit the other larger time frames. There you go. That is SUAI. So I don't have any horizontals and sell targets yet. HYPERLAUNCH. Dang it. Let me go to the DGen Capital deck screener. All right, this is how I check all my DGen coins. Hey, DGen coins have been doing really well. There ain't nothing wrong with being a crypto DGen right now, actually. You're probably doing pretty well. Your DGens are probably doing better than me. Freaking DGens. Anyway, this is how I check my DGen coins. HYPERLAUNCH. Deck screener. Wow. What? Am I messing this up? I don't know, man. There's no HYPERLAUNCH. That might be why I skipped it. All right. Yeah. Yeah, being a DGen in crypto right now is has been quite rewarding. All right. How low do you think? Okay, perfect. That's interesting. Baba Yaz's question is exactly the first thing and the main topic I covered. That's awesome. So you're like a mind reader. But that's great that what I thought was the most important things to consider, like that was the most important thing for you, which is that's cool. uh, hey, thanks OSC. I'm glad you like it. Can I look at Pippin? Please, Tim. Okay. Yeah, I've never seen Pippin before, and I was a Bulls fan in the early into mid '90s, so it kind of catches my eye here. All right, so this is going to be a micro cap or small cap, very, very, very likely under 100 million market cap at this point. Well, it might be close to 100 million with that shape, but it's still probably under. I can tell just by where it trades, and there's a reason why I am completely wrong. Totally incorrect guess. So that is the most I've ever been off by making that simple get. This is interesting. So when I type this in, I could tell by where this trades and does not trade that this was a small cap. Because if you only trade on MEXC and CoinX, and I mean nowhere else, those are swap sites and Poloniex. Okay, Poloniex. So 3 smaller sites. You're usually a market cap under 100 million, usually a micro cap. So it looks like it recently just went up a lot. So maybe that's why it's way above the market cap I was expecting. But what this means is it's kind of in a class of its own. It's been born into a mid cap while still trading on markets more appropriate for a micro cap. So what I fear could happen is there are not enough ready avenues for money to flow into this coin due to the lack of where it trades. I guess Radium's another one, 77 million. Really, I don't know if that's believable. That would be awesome if that's like even 20% true. Okay. This has gotten pretty hot, man. What do you want? Are you? I hope you're asking about where to sell, because I'm telling you what. Like, if you are not already in this, this is the posture that you're not wanting to buy. Like, this is the selling posture. So this is what it looks like when you're being a seller. This is not what it looks like being a buyer at all. So if you ever are hearing about a YouTuber, okay, watch. Making this very, very rule of thumb for bull markets. For bull market buying. How about that? Yeah, especially for like noob version, but just anybody, honestly. This is great to have on your chart. Screw it, for everybody. Great rule of thumb for everybody. Your 4-hour 200 EMA. If what I just said makes you go like, what is that? It's really simple. It's an exponential moving average. You pick the 200 length and you have it on up here on a 4-hour chart. It's just a single indicator. And the rule of thumb with this 4-hour 200 EMA is the following. If your coin, if you're watching a YouTuber, you're new to crypto, and somebody's talking about, oh, Dogecoin's only $5? That's cheap, right? Because Bitcoin is 150K. Like, Dogecoin at $5 is cheap, right? No. If Dogecoin went to $5, it would be way above this line. So if you're looking to buy a coin after you hear it on the news and you see it way above, like, compared to previous price history. So you need to, this doesn't have much price history with it, but you can tell it compared to previous price, it's way above it. We usually have a little bit more contact with price in this line. So you'd want to see what's normal for it to rise above. And if it's way, 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 way above it's ever been, that's only selling time. And if you're trying to be in a buyer mode, you essentially wait till it's either touching that line or really close to it, like relative to where it was, which often means price kind of hangs out and doesn't necessarily drop that much, and it lets this start coming at it. Then price likes to dip, then rip. That's often what causes dip and rips, is price is simply waiting without being too bearish because people are defending a line, but it needs to touch an EMA before it gets big buyers. So price will have the habit of having somebody or an algorithm blast it down into a lower target to convince people to go short so they can take on longs at that same area, touch that EMA below the horizontal, and rip it up. So that could be what this does. Doesn't mean, now I'm not really guessing it's slowing down now. Could have one more pump, maybe even two. But the chance that you get it now and it comes like this to naturally hit that line, you're talking 70% down. It is dangerous to buy stuff relatively far above that line. 4-hour 200 EMA. If you are hitting the buy button on a crypto exchange or on your phone or whatever related to crypto, you need to figure out how to use that in a bull market if you are new. And price makes you lost and it doesn't make sense. Like, this has to make sense to you. All right. So yeah, I think Pippin is in a selling only posture. But no problem. If you are disappointed to hear that and you wanted to like get some tomorrow, and you know that what I said makes sense, you can just take that money and go find something that has a nice looking chart that looks like it's about ready to go up. I guess they reset the matrix. Will DIA hit new all-time high this month? Well, I would guess no. I'm not very bullish on this month yet. I mean, maybe by the end of the month. But I don't think Bitcoin has a chance to accelerate past a lower high from its current double lower high slope line. Which that might put it, I don't even know where that would put it. I have to measure that here in a second. No, not even close, man. Well, that looks like it could be more than a 2x up to there. Like, that is a 2x. Exactly. Let's see here. Nah, man, I don't see this. I mean, maybe it'd have a chance if it's under 50 million. I don't think it is. Nope. It's at 80 million. It came out. It had a bull market. So this has already had a whole bull market. So the thing to consider with DIA here is that, with no exceptions, to my knowledge, so what I'm about to say is a huge rule of thumb. It's a massive rule of thumb for people newer to crypto who are looking to be buyers. If you're, okay, roughly 80 to 85% of all altcoins will not make a new higher high its second bull market. XRP did not. From 2017, it only went up to $1.60 or so in 2021. It's still under where it was in 2017. After all this news, it's under 2017 prices, XRP. Litecoin did not make new highs, made close to a double top. Monero made a lower high in 2021 than it did in 2017. So even these bigger names had lower highs, right? So that's idea number one. Idea number two is, keep in mind, without any exceptions, the rule of thumb for crypto altcoin picking is that altcoins, all the best performing altcoins that bull run had been born that bear market. So the top 5 or 10 or whatever the case is, performers of the whole bull market on a percentage basis, all of them were born in a bear market. And that's happened time after, well, at least the last 2. 3 bull markets ago, it was almost all just Bitcoin only. But for 2017 and 2021, that's exactly the way it went down for those 2. Only coins born in a bear market did exceptionally well. So this has already had a bull market. It's likely to stay under this previous high. It's simply likely. Okay, so about 80% of coins do stay below. Well, this has got roughly an 80% chance of doing a double top or worse. So from current posture, from current price, a double top would be only an 8. It's less than a 10x, so this might take it out. This actually has a good chance to take this out, but a rule is a rule. So, or maybe that's not all of price. Yeah, it is. That's all of price history. Or at least that's the top. So that kind of scares me. Like, it might only have a 10x in it the entire bull market, where all these like other offerings have a lot more. So those are my main thoughts on this. I don't necessarily like this one as much for ROI potential because of those just statistical reasons. Is there some type of chance that is, 10% chance or greater that this does extremely well? and on average, does better than most altcoins. It is possible. I just don't think the probabilities are with it. I think that would be like rolling a 1 or rolling a 6. You need a 6, you got to roll a 6. I'm ready. PNG looks like an easy 10x. All right. I like the style of that. Most small and mid caps are an easy 10x. If you don't 10x on an altcoin that is under the top 50, you're doing something really wrong. Or we end up not having a 4-year cycle with an altcoin season. One of those two. PNG, easy 10x. Okay. It's very aggressive. Wow. It's still a smaller cap. $50x. Did it pull back 85% or more? Like it needed to? 81. Ooh, that's a strong landing. And you matched it with a higher low and a higher high and another almost confirmed higher low. Wow. That broke my rule of thumb by 4%. Maybe I didn't measure right, but that should have corrected 85%. That is very wild. Less than 82%. Damn. Okay. I don't see that rule of thumb broken very often, but that just got broken by that's 5%. So, shit. Okay. Shoot. Well, so the problem with doing a 40x is you have a nice what waiting for you. Higher low target by 2 points of contact. Not great ones, but that's a long point of contact. So if you go, so this is the third coin this stream. What do you think this needs to do? It needs to touch that. So if it chooses not to go down, what do you think that means? It's going to do it somewhere under this area. It's going to come up, stall, and hit that line there or whatever. It's going to hit that line now. Most likely. It did outperform my other rule of thumb, so it could make me a liar twice. That is possible. But remember, I had an entire analysis that I guessed back in October that I had written on there, and it got it right, and it was a very weird analysis, and that's roughly what's happening. Of price just going sideways of a Velo or Vera or something like that that I covered earlier, and Dogecoin did the same thing. It did. And they both followed this same rule. So it looks like because you are correcting from there, it looks like it's. I think it needs to touch that line before it breaks all-time highs sustainably. It does it as like it forms just a big triangle, and it tries to go above, fails it, and then touches the line, then goes above sustainably. Yep, I think this could go sideways. I think downside would be very good for it. 20 to 21 cents would be awesome. Let me shut up and measure to see if that's even oh yeah, 30%. Yep. That'd be a great area to be very interested in being more of an aggressive buyer around, to consider being more of an aggressive buyer around 22 cents, 20 to 22. And begin being interested in buying around 26 if we were to get another push down. Yep. I don't know. I don't think it's an easy 10x. I think it has to hit that line, therefore must go down first and or sideways. So I do not agree. I don't agree that it's probable and that it's easy. So in the end, I think it's probably not an easy 10x. How about that? Harmony 1 and GLMR. If this breaks down, it'll be pretty easy to guess where. That's a very unaggressive low, so I'll take it to there. It'll fall between those 2 points, between 17 to 40%. I think the bottom is not very aggressive at all. So I would be inclined to do it more like this. So in this target area, if Bitcoin were to hit somewhere like 80K, I think it could find itself almost exactly at about 15.5 cents if Bitcoin were to find itself in that exact moment at let's say just under 85K. Yeah, around 80K actually. This should be around 15 cents. So that would be as low as what I would want to consider picking it up. That does not mean go 50x because Tim said at that level you could get liquidated, lose all your money. But in general, spot trading and picking up with limit buys, that would be the lower end of where I'm trying to get it. And yes, it's hitting a higher low on the bottom of a major channel. So I mean, if I'm 0% in, I would want to be at least 10% in today. That would open up it puts me at risk of it then going down with that 10%, but also it sets me up to be able to be a seller if it were to zoom up to 7 cents or even 11 cents. So there is risk to upside as well, which is why not being flat is probably the way to go if you're into this one. Can Harmony 1 essentially hit $1? Yeah, it can. Yeah, it could hit 2 origin lines down. It could hit $1.75. Yeah, that's fine. That would be among the highest I would expect it to go. But yeah, it could 60x because it hit the top of the first bull market. So it could hit there, but that would mean it makes new highs. And is not in that 80% rule, rather is the exception to that rule. Yeah, you're not California dreaming at all. Hell, look, yours is just a failure pattern above the top of the point of control, which it'll probably do. I bet it. Yeah. If we have a 4-year cycle and there is an altcoin season, I would expect Harmony 1 to top out at 80 or higher. Yep. Under those 2 conditions. GLMR. All right. Yeah, so I've been picking up GLMR since 23 cents. I bought down here on November 5th. I sold 20% between here and here, literally, like at that line. It literally did stop. I had more for sale up higher, but 20% up to that line between here and here in this triangle. And I bought almost all of that back on this dip because it hit my line, because 2 obvious points of contact, and I put my limit buys about here. So I bought all that 20% back, roughly average sell there in the middle for almost 50% lower. That was a very well executed trade. It was a very good start. It was my first. That was my first swing trade for this coin, which is my biggest holding for spot. And yeah, so far I've been doing perfectly on this. Let's see how badly I screwed up later. But and I'm looking to be interested in buying all the way down, all the way down here. But I am prepared for Bitcoin to bounce here, and I have plans that if I'm wrong, what do I do? How do I get in from there? But yeah, I would not be scared of being interested in buying it, even potentially slightly below my target. Because again, my targets are set up for Bitcoin to wick down to 80K. If Bitcoin were wick down to 80K in that exact moment, my estimation is that GLMR should be at 16.6, or at least a week ago. So, I mean, hopefully that's not much more than 33%, because that would be slightly more than double Bitcoin. If Bitcoin went down fast, good. It's 26, perfect. So it's just less than double what Bitcoin would do. It still makes perfect sense, even after a week. Because if Bitcoin hit 80K, that would be 14%. Times 2 is 28. That's just less than times 2 factor of how far Bitcoin goes. And that's why. But if you're a person who, let's say you're looking to put more serious money on this, and you also have more bearish thoughts than me, like Tim doesn't know what he's talking about, it's going to 70K. Then if that's your situation, then you would want to get in lower than that on average. Like you can just imagine it like a box, and you would just like scoop the top of the box close to where the bottom was or something. And then measure down. How far of a drop would that be on Bitcoin? Is that roughly 2 times the distance? And that's where you'd want your bottom limit buy to be, roughly 2 times the distance you think from your target. Okay, alrighty. I have a vampire cat. Okay. So I've got a question about if you're newer to crypto and what I'm about to say doesn't make sense, then this portion is for you. The price of an altcoin does not matter when you are trying to figure out your ROI potential. I will say that again. The dollar price of your altcoins take almost zero bearing. They have almost zero connection to trying to figure out how far up it'll go. If that doesn't make perfect sense to you, then what we're about to do and talk about in general is going to be great general education. So the question was, can XPR get to $1? I don't need to look at a chart yet. I will start with what really does matter, not price. I don't care that this says 0014. I wouldn't care if it said 185. Can it, go up to a certain price or whatever? Can it have a certain ROI? Even though this says about $1, but so can this get up to $1? All right. Well, first off, the question has $1 in mind. All right. So technically, we could just say $1 divided by 0.00144. Okay, so if it were to get to $1, that would be a 700x. No, I don't think it can. It's what's the market cap of it right now? No. If it were to 700x, it would be like the number two crypto, I think. It would be maybe beating Bitcoin at that point. I don't know. It would be too much. Yeah, this thing at a 700x. Yeah, so in this case, price actually, I did use price, but that wasn't the rule of thumb I thought I was going to show you. I apologize. What I was going to show you the rule of thumb is the market cap here, this number being small, not the price being small. XRP is only $2. That's a small price, right? I can be a millionaire. No. It's how that low number is not what makes it a good potential going higher. It's a low market cap is what increases the general potential. So Bitcoin has the biggest market cap. It technically has the lowest ROI potential out of all crypto. If buying on spot with no leverage. And historically, it kind of does over a bull market. Most coins do more than its, it did 100x between 2015 and 2017. But the next bull market in total, I don't even know. I should. I have the weekly chart on Bitcoin nearly memorized for all of price history. I don't know this off the top of my head. What is wrong with me? Shame on me. I almost want to think like it was only 20x, but I actually don't know. I don't know why my brain is thinking 20, but it seems like it'd be more than that. It was 20, so it's 20 and a half. So it did 100x and then it did a 20x. It has less room for growth. Its market cap is big. A smaller market cap, not a low price. A lower market cap, not a lower price, is in general what gets you. It simply has more ROI built in. And one of the best combos of trying to figure out, well, hey, what's gonna, make the best bang for the buck? The best, well, there are a lot of combos, but is that it has a lower market cap and it trades on good exchanges in America. Easily accessible to newer people in the United States. So on Coinbase, Crypto.com are the big ones. Poloniex is American as well, I guess. Yeah, and so if you see something like this, if you click markets, and it's on BitGet, which is a great exchange, but not American friendly. KuCoin, MEXC. MEXC, technically, you can use it with a VPN in America, but this one's going to have trouble getting the American money. So that would be my only complaint about it. But it is a nice low cap, and it trades on decent places. BitGet isn't a fantastic exchange. I cannot say anything about it. At the same rate, it's not on Binance or Coinbase. However, because it's on enough good ones for the most part, it's on decent ones. Technically, it's being on Coinbase allows the wild card opportunity or dark horse wild card potential of getting a listing pump, but it's simply not probable. And not being on Coinbase is more of a detriment than it is. We might get a Coinbase pump. No, it's simply not that probable. It doesn't make it a good thing. It's better if it's already on Coinbase or Crypto.com. So a combination of low market cap and on a good exchanges is a fantastic start to trying to figure out what altcoins are going to get you good ROI. And then if I could add a third thing, it has good posture or simply is not far above its 4-hour 200 EMA or is below it even, but it's not way above it. Those three of a combo and you're like, what is crypto? What am I doing here? Those three things could help out so many people. So many people. Bull market targets for MATIC. All right. Wait, what? Dude. Oh, it's still 85% down. I would say this is going to double top, man. I think this is going to be a coin that doesn't take. I mean, let me shut up and measure one more time, but that's only a 6x. Yeah, it might too. I'm going to say double top to 3x on top on the highest side. So I'm going to make 3 general guesses. Well, that doesn't make... Oh, it's logarithmic. I was going to say, wait, that's the same distance above. 100. Oh, no. Dirt to dirt. 200. Okay, perfect. All right. That's interesting. That's a 1x and that's a 2x. Or, well, that's a 2 times the price, I guess. So if this is $3, this will be $6. Yeah, so I would guess either 3, 6, or close to 9. With room for in between for sure. 9 on the very, very highest side. However, this is looking like it'll barely scrape above its previous all-time high. I would guess it goes above 3, but below 6. Something like that. So if I had to make an exact guess, 430. From current price, let me shut up and measure. That's only a 9.5x, but it's been the dog, so that's my guess. That's structurally what makes the most sense to me. Yeah, that ain't good. I think that's dog shit. This is bad. I don't know what's wrong with this, but this is not succeeding right now. I'm surprised it looks this. It's still in a downward channel, and we're in a bull market. Bitcoin's been out of this since it like raced up to 48K a long time ago. Not that long ago, but it seems like a long time ago. Almost a year. If not longer. Or was it 2 years? Almost 2 years. What am I smoking? I need to review my most recent 40. Yeah, well, it was it was almost exactly 1 year ago. Okay. Yes, I do think the bull market will end sometime between June and November. MATIC USDT for full price history. Well, that might help. Still looks bad. Yeah, I got the bull market height. So that's really all I needed. That's where it went when Bitcoin was at 64K top. And this is in a downward channel. So it should do a double top or a failure pattern above the double top and then fail when it comes below it. And usually when that happens, so from the top, it's usually a 2x or a 3x. That's just how this one will probably move. Yeah, this is weak. I'm surprised there's not more negative news. I mean, is there a lot of FUD? I mean, I cannot believe the chart of a coin that was, I don't know. I just thought that was one of the big names in crypto, and clearly something has changed. All right, top ROI plays for this bull is what I mostly just covered, but I will end with this. Historically, coins born in a bear market, in the most recent bear market, do the most ROI. Coins, as opposed to coins that have already seen an entire previous bull market and have come down from there. That's as opposed to there. So the top performers of every bull market with altcoins so far, each time by far and away, was all, not just scattered some, but all coins that were born that bear market. And none of the top performers were clumped or even mixed in or tainted with coins that had already seen an entire previous bull market. The top performers were all born in the same vicinity on the charts of the Bitcoin chart. So that's a good first step for maximizing ROI. Has my coin already lived through an entire bull market? If so, well, I'm already limiting myself naturally. That's just the way it works. 2, if you how good of exchanges you're on. So, yeah, how good of exchange. So if you're trying to get these, so this is the tit for tat with the third topic. So 2 and 3 go together. The general size of the market cap being small. Lower market cap, not lower price, generally creates better ROI. The price of something being low has nothing to do with how much ROI it has, the dollar price. Rather, what creates that pressure, general pressure for potential up, is the lower market cap in dollar figures. That is because they have different circulating currencies, and they could have the same total value, but the price of one be 1/100th of the other because they have 100 more coins out, even though the companies are the same size. That is why market cap being low is what naturally creates more potential to the upside. So the first one, being it hasn't seen a bull market before. Kind of skipped over 2. Third one being low market cap, not low dollar price, creates better ROI in general terms, very general. And number 2, what was connected to the freaking market cap? Oh, I had it on the tip of my mind. What was this? Top ROIs. It'll come to me. So really, just those 2 things in general can guide you pretty well. Small market cap. And I'm sorry, I did remember the other one. It's tied to the second one because it's tit for tat with the third. So you would think, oh, Tim said smaller market cap creates better room for upside. Well, to a certain point. Because if you just pick the smallest market caps possible, number 2 goes to shit and it ruins your chances on average. Number 2 is it trades on good exchanges. So really, you're kind of looking for a blend of low cap, trades on really good exchanges that are available to newer people who don't know what a wallet is. It's their first time in crypto. That type of money, it's usually the end of the bull market is when they come in. It often has 8 weeks left maximum. But those are the coins that'll do like 50x at the last little bit, or 10x, or 15x in 10 days or 5 days, like stupid stuff. And so you can't just say, well, okay, it was born in a bear market and it's 1 million market cap. Like, it's a winning game plan, because Tim said. Well, the problem with all low caps is they mostly don't trade on good exchanges. And if I could add a fourth for top ROI plays, is it has good posturing. So there are some exceptions to this, but and really you could easily argue with what I'm about to say. I'm not gonna lie, but ROI posturing, maximum ROI posturing, is you're generally looking for a U shape, and it bounces around on both sides of it. And you're looking for it not to be above like its top horizontal before it blasts up. So maybe a better example. I don't even think, nope, this is not, well, this isn't even making its U shape yet, but this is very immature. I would prefer it to be like this, like even this, really. Or like this, right there would be better. So this one's pretty immature, but it's in general forming the shape, but it's also has a chance for like a triple bottom here. So it's not very ripe yet. That's not quite the shape I was thinking of. Give me a second. I don't know if mover has the right. This has more of the correct shape. All right. So, like I said, something that was born in the bear market or born at the very end of the bull market, which mover was. It got crushed because it came out at the top. Got completely crushed. Has gotten a breath of life back in, corrected for an entire year. Now has formed higher high, higher low, higher high, getting ready to form its second major higher low. And so trying to enter on that second major higher low, I mean, you have this U shape going on like this. And it's gone way above it, and it's reverted back to it and is bouncing on. This is exactly right. Like, this is the perfect shape for perfect posture. Because if you've already raced up to a 50x to all-time highs, you're less likely to what? To maximize ROI, because it already maximized ROI. Like, it got a 50x and you missed it. So why don't you think of something that has a chance to 50x? Not something already 50x. What are you thinking? Now it just has a chance to correct and go sideways. Like maybe another 5x, but what are you smoking? So that is why I think this cup shape is a fantastic posturing with multiple higher lows. So a cup shape, in general, it has screamed way above the line once, has come back to meet it, and has landed a higher low on it. That honestly is a great shape. And the left side of it at least goes back to 2022. If it's less time, that's okay too. But I think it helps you maximize ROI at the beginning of a bull market. Because you've already you're not guessing the bottom and then letting it go sideways for 2 years. So like, guess you bought it here. Well, now you're 700 days deep and you're at the same price. You could have been doing something else with that money, right? So waiting till it goes up the U shape with higher lows also helps you maximize or minimize the amount of time you're waiting for it to happen. So it's just all such good things about this shape. And so those are 4 things to help you maximize your ROI this bull run. I hope that last part was valuable. And it might be worth watching a second time, and I hope I made sense. That one's so important enough where I might make that type of content more planned, but hell, that could be like a tutorial for newer folks. So, but other than that, I'm going to get off here. Have a good weekend. Happy Friday. Catch you on the flip side. You just got Timified worldwide. Peace.